Welcome back to this explainer on the Designing Cisco Wireless Networks exam. Today, we're taking objectives 1.3 through 1.7 and translating them into crystal clear scenario-based knowledge. Look, if you're gearing up for the WLSD 300-110 exam, you probably already know that just memorizing textbook definitions, that's not going to cut it. You really need to know how to apply these concepts to real-world deployment scenarios. So today, we're going to break down the exact site survey and planning tools you absolutely need to master.
Okay, let's dive right in by highlighting the stakes here. Mastering the wireless site survey domain covers a massive 25% of your entire exam score. Think about that for a second. Literally 1/4 of your success on this 90-minute test comes down to understanding exactly when, why, and how to perform different types of wireless site surveys. If you can lock down this domain, you're essentially building yourself a massive safety net for your overall passing score.
So here's our roadmap for mastering these scenarios. We'll be hitting 1. The wireless survey blueprint. 2. Predictive and pre-deployment. 3. Mastering Layer 1 surveys. 4. Validating post-deployment. And 5. Essential wireless planning tools.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the wireless survey blueprint.
For those tricky scenario questions, you've got to burn this exact chronological life cycle into your brain. First, you plan virtually. Then you physically check the site. And finally, you validate the installation. When you're sitting there in the exam chair, the question is often going to drop you somewhere right in the middle of this timeline. They'll hand you a scenario and ask, okay, what's your next step? Or what surveys should you have already done? Pinning this 3-step timeline in your mind is your anchor. It's absolutely crucial.
Moving right along to Section 2, Predictive and Pre-Deployment.
Now watch out, because this right here is a classic trap they love to set on the exam. You've got Objective 1.6, the predictive site survey, pitted against Objective 1.4, the pre-deployment site survey. Sure, they sound kind of similar, but they happen in totally different realities. If they ask how to plan for a building that literally hasn't been built yet, or where you only have CAD floor plans, that's a predictive survey. But if the scenario states the drywall is up and you need an on-site check before you permanently mount those access points, that is definitively a pre-deployment survey. Let's zoom in on Objective 1.6 for a second. Remember, a predictive site survey is entirely software-based planning. It's your starting point when physical site access just isn't possible. So in a scenario where a budget needs approval before anyone even steps foot on site, or the building is literally just a patch of dirt, you're relying on predictive software. You're inputting materials, drawing walls, and letting the algorithms estimate how that wireless signal is going to behave. It's basically your ultimate what-if scenario builder. And that leads us perfectly into Objective 1.4. The really crucial point here is that a pre-deployment survey takes that virtual predictive design you just built, and it tests it in the actual physical environment right before the full installation. This is where you're walking the actual hallways. If your predictive software assumed a wall was standard drywall, but your physical walkthrough reveals it's actually reinforced concrete, well, this is the exact phase where you catch that mistake and adjust your design. Let's shift gears to Section 3, Mastering Layer 1 surveys. A Layer 1 survey is your go-to immediate answer for any scenario involving raw RF interference that's disrupting your physical environment. You really have to listen carefully to how the exam phrases the problem here. If users are complaining about terrible Wi-Fi, but your standard network tools show the APs are totally online and passing traffic perfectly, you're likely dealing with a Layer 1 issue. We're talking non-Wi-Fi interference, the invisible stuff you just can't see with standard data packet analysis. You have to get down and look at the raw physical layer. As outlined in the official Cisco exam documentation, knowing how to interpret this Layer 1 data isn't just a nice-to-have, it's an absolutely essential skill for the test. Notice how Cisco specifically carves this out as its own dedicated objective under 1.3. They want to know that, as a designer, you aren't just staring at IP and MAC addresses all day. You need the expertise to analyze the raw radio frequency environment and actually hunt down the physical elements that are crushing your wireless performance. All right, fast forward a bit to Section 4, Validating Post-Deployment. Which brings us to Objective 1.5. So if a scenario asks how to prove that an active, newly installed wireless network actually meets all those initial design requirements, you must perform a post-deployment site survey. The cables are run, the APs are bolted to the ceiling, the network is live. But are we done? Nope. This survey is your proof. It's exactly how you validate that the client density requirements are met, that real-time apps work without dropping, and that your real-world coverage actually matches that original predictive design. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, Essential Wireless Planning Tools.
Seriously, take a mental screenshot of this matrix right now because this is pure exam gold. Cisco specifically lists these tools in the blueprint. You've got to match Ekahau and Hamina to network planning and predictive design scenarios. If the question mentions drawing walls and modeling AP placements, boom, you choose Ekahau or Hamina. On the flip side, you map Chanalyzer or a generic spectrum analyzer strictly to layer 1 interference questions. Tracking down a rogue microwave oven or a crazy Bluetooth device, your answer is a spectrum analyzer every time.
So, just to recap Objective 1.7, you have to know exactly when to pull the right tool from your tool belt to evaluate your key network metrics. Don't get them mixed up. I mean, you wouldn't use Chanalyzer to predictably model a brand new multi-story hospital, right? And you definitely wouldn't use Hamina's predictive algorithms to hunt down real-time RF interference in a warehouse. Understanding this specific distinction is exactly what the exam is trying to test you on. At the end of the day, mastering when to use each of these surveys and tools is the ultimate key to conquering this heavy 25% portion of the CCNP wireless exam. If you can confidently read a scenario and instantly know, okay, I'm in the predictive phase, or this is post-deployment, and then immediately grab the correct software tool for that exact phase, you are absolutely going to crush this section, no doubt about it. I want to leave you with this one final thought. As you think about that perfect post-deployment result, where every single metric on your screen is green, consider this. Physical environments are constantly evolving. Desks get moved, new inventory stacks all the way to the ceiling in a warehouse, neighboring businesses blast their own Wi-Fi. That means site surveying isn't just a one-and-done checklist for a new build. It's actually a continuous, ongoing journey to maintain the health of your network. Keep that in the back of your mind as you prep, and I will see you in the next explainer.